if you've got team members who you know are just really doing well, there's a tendency to want to give them more to do because they do it well. And there's a couple of things I think we should think about here. So one is we want to be careful of, even if somebody's a really high achiever, there's always going to be a point where if we give them too much, there's going to be an issue with burnout. And regardless of how engaged somebody is, we all need time to kind of, unplug from work and do other things. So I think when we're thinking about like how do we delegate tasks, there's actually, you're going to have a training on this later in the program, Isaac. So hopefully that at that point it'll be kind of a refresher and a reminder, and maybe even create some new thoughts. But for now, the idea that I'd like to share is to be very intentional about what tasks you share. So if you have a team member who's a real high achiever, I wouldn't try to give them a larger quantity of tasks necessarily. I would give them tasks that are going to help them to grow to the greatest extent possible. So a way of doing this is wonderful practice that I learned from Mike Figliolo, a colleague and somebody we interviewed for a podcast. And he's got this approach that I just think is ingenious, and I've started applying it myself. I know he's shared it with hundreds of his clients who have found value in this. So the idea is, if you make a list of all the tasks that you're doing, you probably find that they fall into some certain buckets, right? So you have certain tasks that are so easy for you that you could just do them in your sleep practically, right? And then you've got tasks that might require a little bit of thought, but not too much. And then you've got tasks that require a good deal of thought, but you can do them. And then you've got tasks that you've never done before and things that you want to learn. And so a good first step is to kind of create buckets for those types of tasks, or put all of the tasks that you do into buckets like that. And you can have your team do this as well. And I don't know if you need to act on this immediately, because again, you're going to have a training on this in the program. But you could if you like. And then the idea would be you have your team members do the same thing. And so what you want to be doing is the tasks that are really easy for you, that you don't even have to think about. I mean, those should all be delegated. There's no reason that you should be doing them, unless it's just something you really enjoy, and if you love it, then maybe keep doing it. But you can delegate those. And the idea is you want to try to find whoever you're delegating them to, if possible, try to find people who would grow by executing that task. So for your higher achievers, like the tasks that are really easy for you are probably not the ones that you would delegate. It'd probably be the ones that you can do that require a little bit of thought, or maybe even some of the ones that you do that take a good deal of thought. And so that way you're giving somebody something that's really challenging. But if you're going to do that, you also need to make sure that you have time to coach them along to whatever degree they need. High achievers probably won't need much, but they're going to need some. And then what's really important, though, is to make sure that they don't have too much on their plate. So then what we want to do is look at these people and say, well, what are all the things on their, in their bucket of, I can do this in my sleep because it's so easy for me, or the things that take a little bit of thought. See if those can be delegated to more junior team members who could stand to grow by doing those things. Or even if they don't stand to grow, it might just be, you might need to do it just to free up time. But I think that's the balancing act, is you want to find, your higher achievers are going to get bored if they're not challenged, right? They need to have plenty to do. They need to have problems to solve, so they feel like they're making an impact. But you don't want to, it's a fine balance between just giving them a large quantity of tasks versus like being intentional about what tasks do we give them that are really going to help them to grow and to feel like they're making a bigger impact. Um, and and of course, the other fine point of the balance is to make sure that they're not overloaded. You know, we don't want team members to feel like they literally can't do what they're being asked to do in a decent work week. You know, as a general rule, I recommend encouraging people not to work more than 40 hours a week. Obviously, there are certain times where that happens, you know, maybe a few times a year when there's some stretch goal that you're trying to hit. But as a norm, we want to really prioritize work-life balance and make sure that people aren't routinely working over 40 hours a week. And so if you're giving somebody so many tasks that they can't do them in 40 hours a week, then I think that's where you need to start saying, okay, what are the things that we need to move from the bottom of your list, things that are fairly easy for you to do, get those delegated to other team members, or if it makes sense to hire somebody else, you know, to hire a junior team member who can do those things.